congressperson will look at it and be like, oh, these are dangerously insecure. Yes, but neglect is not malicious.
This is a good point to start. And we're already rolling. So we are talking about routers, and as you can see, it is very planned.
There's a ban?
Yes, we've covered it. The ban is interesting.
I like the political aspect of the ban, because I've peeled back the linoleum from a technical standpoint, and I have breaking news.
The breaking news is?
They're both really bad. TP-Link and Netgear. It's like...
on a scale of kind of bad to 3-letter agency backdoor.
There's a secret backdoor in the Netgear where TP-Link is, here is how you enable the backdoor, and like I have some thoughts and feelings about how TP-Link should do this better, but then Netgear is like, oh no, we're really secure, and the answer is no. No, they're not, and it's dangerously bad.
The level of confidence with which you're saying there's a backdoor.
Yes.
Is,
the name of the software that you're not supposed to know is there is literally enable SSHD. If you send it a magic packet, it will enable SSH. So then you can SSH into the router and do things, which is exactly the kind of thing the Netgear said that Fancy Bear and apt23 and all those other people were abusing in routers like TP-Link, and then you can make changes, and it's very hard to get you out once you've got that level of access.
Who do you think put that there, and why was it the NSA?
Netgear put it there, but I'm sure that the NSA and other 3-letter agencies and other bears, fancy as they may be, are going to use that effectively for whatever they want.
Before that, this video is brought to you by Thermal Grizzly and their new Duronaut thermal paste. Thermal Grizzly claims its Duronaut paste is intended for long-term stability and endurance, focusing on paste longevity in addition to the usual performance focus. Thermal Grizzly's Duronaut paste comes with applicators and spreaders, and ships in numerous tube sizes, aiming to provide a high-end paste for PC builds and daily driven overclocks by enthusiasts. Learn more at the link in the description below. So like consumer side, there's a router ban, it's a problem. They adjusted the firmware duration you can patch out to, it'll be another year or two or something. It's all kind of bullshit. But end of the story is Netgear got some exemptions. They can continue to be sold as normal. A bunch of other companies did not. And also access points are on the list for the ban too.
Which is, it doesn't make sense.
And their definition of a router, a device which can transmit packets via internet protocol.
Yeah, it's a really broad definition. Like literally a potato would do that. Your fridge, your smart fridge, it's a router. Woo!
How would you narrow that down, just for context? I
would probably try to define it in terms of it's a consumer internet gateway. So I think the government is dancing around the fact that they have this vision online for what Americans experience online, and it's dark.
Yeah.
Because the whole ID, it's like, oh, we got to protect the children. We need to know who you are online.
Right.
And so your router is the beachhead onto your network. And so if we ignore the trees and look at the forest for a second and where this is going, it seems like we're going to get to a world where criminals are super interested in living on your router because it's really easy to impersonate you.
Because it'll be pre-authenticated.
You can potentially steal traffic from pre-authenticated stuff. Even if it's not pre-authenticated, it's a lot easier to impersonate you from your actual internet connection.
Right.
And it's a lot harder for you to know that something is there on your router because you can't scan it, you can't see it from your computer.
Yeah.
And we've seen this happen. There has already been several security exploits. Asus was very famously affected, this is 6 months ago, but the same kind of advanced persistent backdoors, and the feds were like, I don't know, I guess we're gonna have to wipe the routers or break the routers remotely, and it wasn't just Asus that was affected by that, and so that's a whole other different conversation. But in terms of criminals being really interested in backdoors, SSH access, whatever, on your router, yeah, that's where we are.
So this kind of ties in with the ID verification from your point of view, I guess?
Yeah, because if you have somebody that has identified themselves and there's a cookie or whatever, then it's one of the fixes that's probably going to come. It's you don't have to ID yourself every time. Your ISP can do that for you.
Right.
Your connection is certified for use on ABCXYZ. And so then all of a sudden it's really handy for there to be malware on something on your network, or if the malware is on your router. That's great.
Right. What are your findings?
So I decided to do an actual, honest to God, red team audit. I'm a little rusty. This is like a thing. And this is basically disassembling the router's software to figure out how it's built. And TP-Link kind of seems like they lean on OpenWRT or OpenWRT packages, but it's not officially supported by OpenWRT, which I think is a misstep by TP-Link. But like the Linux kernel version and OpenSSL and Samba and all of the stuff that goes in with that. Patrick on our forum volunteered his BE800 to the sacrificial altar, and so there's a full audit that's published on the Level1 Techs website. You should definitely check that out. But it's brutal. It's really, really brutal. The reality, like if I could sum it up in an accessible way, I would say that it was a little behind when the router was originally designed. It took about 6 months, I'd say, to get from the software and hardware design to market. And in that time, there wasn't really a lot of software updates.
Okay, so they let it fall behind, I guess?
They let it fall behind.
Okay.
And since then, they've applied some patches to it because there have been some security incidents, some security incidents reported. It's like, hey, I can remotely take over the router and do these bad things. And so you have companies like Netgear that are going to Congress critters and they're saying,
Congress critters.
the situation looks bad because these are so remotely exploitable. We have criminal gangs that are moving into the routers. And that's not untrue. That is very true. But at the same time, from TP-Link's perspective, it's like they sell you a router. Like, how long are they on the hook to support that? A year? 2 years? 5 years?
Right.
What does that look like? And TP-Link, I think, is not, like, it's like some of their older models are really embraced by the OpenWRT project. And I think that fully embracing OpenWRT makes some of that go away. It's just that at some point you end up transitioning from the TP-Link official firmware to OpenWRT, which is not great from a consumer standpoint either.
Netgear spent somewhere around $500,000 in recent years on lobbying.
That's the thing that made me so angry. It's like the claims in the lobbying, and it's like, we don't do this. And so I did an audit on them, and it's the same and worse.
Because they're the ones who got exemptions.
Yeah.
Which seems cheap.
Woo!
$500K for being allowed to sell your product. Pretty good trade.
But there's still it's an older Linux kernel. It is an LTS kernel. But I found, so I was able to get in through the back door. One of the back doors was an out-of-date Samba. It's like Samba v1, Samba v1. Like, you can execute arbitrary code, and it's like, that's bad. I probably already said too much. There's maybe an O day there, which is not good.
Okay.
Responsible disclosure, trying to not do irresponsible disclosure here. But there is actually, so from that access that I got, there is another piece of software that is running on the Netgear RS700S, which is called Enable SSHD. And this is like, if you look at old Netgear firmware, they used to have Enable Telnet-D, where you'd send a magic packet and you would get Telnet access. And this is a feature, not a bug. It's like in the admin GUI, you could turn that on, you could do stuff on your router. But with this Congress manipulation, like the Congress, like we're trying to secure and lock down our stuff, it seems like they've just sort of slapdash haphazardly hidden that capability, and it's not Telnet anymore, it's SSH, so it's at least encrypted.
What are the differences? Telnet and SSH.
Telnet is remote command control from like the 70s and 80s, and it was not encrypted. And SSH is remote command and control, but now it's encrypted.
Okay, got it.
But there's a hidden service that's undocumented, apparently, on the RS700S that is still running. And they have made intimations that, we don't allow the same kind of access. But it's old Linux, OpenSSL 1.1.1 is what I have on my RS700S. And that was end of life a long time ago. The version of BusyBox, like the command library thing, just off the top of my head, that's from 2023. Like, they haven't bothered to update at all.
So, what is the takeaway, I guess, on the consumer side?
Consumer
versus
stuff is trash. It is really trash. And these companies, it's not that these companies don't care, it's just that they sell you a product and then they want to spend as little money as possible supporting it over the next 5 years. So there isn't...
Is there like, I mean, so if the concern is effectively there's a known backdoor in at least these, it sounds like 2 devices.
Yeah.
Then as a person, what do you do about that? Do you just not use those 2 devices, or is it like you go buy a different one and it just has a different backdoor that hasn't been discovered yet?
You end up having to buy a device that has a known software lifecycle.
Okay.
And I don't think that is any consumer router today. As part of the maneuvering that Netgear did with the whole thing, some of their older devices where they were like, they're end of life, we're not going to support those, they're more than 5 years old, we don't care. And then it turned into a PR nightmare, and then Netgear was like, okay, we'll update those, we'll secure them, we'll fix it.
Right.
But only because it was a PR nightmare.
Why is there suddenly so much interest in routers by the government? Because if you look back, I think it was actually under Obama, they had discussed some form of banning or restricting user firmware installs, i.e. OpenWRT.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't remember if that passed off the top of my head or if that went, I think some modified version of it went through where they're like, well, it's okay if you do it under these circumstances. But why now? What is the interest? My conspiracy brain viewpoint of this, which seems to be less and less conspiracy and more, just reality, but is if I'm a government or an entity controlled by billionaire people and or corporations, it's in my best interest to have kind of totalitarian control and oversight on internet devices.
Yeah, it seems like it's a really short distance to walk toward ham-fisted, we must identify the person using the connection, and we don't really care if we get it wrong a lot. So, I mean, think about the absurdity of, well, this internet connection is tied to this person's identity, and we are not necessarily going to have an easy time walking back from that. Think about like the recording industry.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, an IP address is not a person.
Right.
It's like, well, we seem to be building infrastructure where an IP address is becoming a person.
Right.
It's like you have to identify yourself to get online. You have to have the thing. Is there a log of that in the router? Does the router require certain software by the government? I would have said that, a couple of years ago, that the government requiring ID for somebody to get on a website seems insane. That would never,
well, I mean,
never happen.
You already give a form of ID to get the internet.
And, in the first place,
like it's already there.
Yeah.
And then mandating it for access, it's interesting how, I pointed this out in news and stuff too, but the rollout, right, where it's like, go after adult websites first. Like because that makes it embarrassing for people to resist. Because it's an admission, right?
And now it's Roblox.
Exactly, and maybe not the easiest to defend some of their decisions, but the point being, it's not just Roblox. It's social media and video games, and because the definition in New York for New York COSA, which we have on GNCA, is any service which has a profile and direct messaging is considered social media, and all social media requires an ID to use.
What about 3D printers that have to make sure that they're running software so that you can't print certain things?
Right.
That's going to be lockstep with your router that also has the thing. It's like, oh, I see a 3D printer on your network. You got a license for that 3D printer.
Yeah, you got a license for that. And I mean, feasibly, this is like getting into Bamboo too, but a company like Bamboo potentially benefits from being kind of in bed on the decision making for that.
Yep.
Because
just the way Netgear seems to have.
I wonder how that happened.
Yeah.
Because now you could start looking at, okay, what files are going to that printer, and are they, some form of violation? So,
I would like to see official software lifecycle management. Like when you buy a router, it's like, this is our 5-year plan for keeping it up to date. Because there are going to be bugs. There's going to be software problems. There's going to be, I think what we have on the Netgear side is much more egregious, because it's like, we don't have backdoors. And it's like, well, there's a service on there that sure looks like there's a secret backdoor. Like, that's kind of like lying to the customer.
Is DIY router is that the safest thing to do?
By far. But it's not necessarily the fastest.
So I know like OpenSense, pfSense, I guess OpenWRT.
It's greenfield. There's all kinds of
if it's open source, does that reduce the concern of something like a backdoor hidden in one of those solutions?
No, because you could, I mean, it's pretty easy. It's like, I'm going to be a volunteer on this project, and then there is kind of a threat. What if somebody joins a project just to introduce a weakness that makes it easy? It's not going to be as obvious.
Right.
Like enable SSHD is not going to be a thing that exists, but
Because
it's
other people would discover it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It won't be that, but there could be other more subtle flaws. There are a lot of subtle flaws.
Especially if you're an agency, I guess, that is already aware of some kind of like side channel exploit or whatever.
Right, yeah. I mean, we've, by preponderance of evidence, things like the dual elliptic curve thing was a weakness deliberately introduced by a 3-letter agency. Oops, it came out later. And I think some of the AI discovered vulnerabilities that we're seeing now are also things that have been there 10 years or more,
right,
that were very subtle flaws placed by key people that
intentionally.
Yeah.
And
so
it may not just be our own agencies.
The difference is not the software. The difference is not. It is the life cycle of we found a problem, whether that is deliberate or accidental,
right,
and we have a plan to quickly deploy the updates.
Yeah.
That is the thing that you don't have, because right now you only get router updates, firmware updates, when somebody complains or it's a PR nightmare. See also the Asus remote backdoor and TP-Link and Netgear, and like consumer gear is just a dumpster fire of terribleness.
What do you do? Like, is there something for people to do if they're just a user of, let's say, one of the affected devices you're mentioning? You discontinue use, and
it helps to understand where the vulnerabilities come in. The way in that I found on the Netgear was through file sharing. And so it's like, oh, it's a USB port, you can use file, don't use the file sharing. You can turn services off, and that lowers your surface area for attacks. But for the dump that I got, it looked like Enable SSHD was listening for the magic packet on both the internet side and the LAN side. I did not test that. It's definitely listening on the LAN side. And it looks like, from a software standpoint, it's listening on both. But if you get the magic packet, I don't know if it would actually let you SSH in from the WAN side. That would actually be worse.
Yeah.
Much worse. I was just annoyed that it was as bad. Like, there's no reason for them to ship the version of OpenSSL, and like, also check out that audit, because it's bad.
Yeah. So I guess probably by the time we publish this, you likely have your video up on your channel. Is that going to be Level1 Techs for that? Yeah,
there's kind of an introduction. If this sounds all like insane, you can get an introduction on Level1 Techs, and then there's a deep dive on Level1 Linux, because those are both Linux based. The Asus one, I think, is VX work. I'm still working on the audit on it, because it's not as clear cut. But TP-Link and Netgear both have the same kinds of defects, which are not atypical for consumer routers.
Well, I mean, and Netgear is the one that's been pointing the finger at TP-Link now.
It's just like, these look the same.
To the extent where, in their own earnings report, Netgear was talking, they were like speaking in ways where it was like, we're going to benefit from our competitor getting banned, if we throw them under the bus.
I like also the earnings reports are not like, we need to spend more money on people to do, I think your video mentioned they spent $500,000.
Yeah.
Do you know how the OpenWRT project could do with $500,000? Like, you wouldn't be running OpenSSL 1.1.1, I tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot, and they spent it all on lobbyists. And,
that is definitely a sign of a healthy product development.
And that was just the obvious one. I mean, we didn't go digging super deep, so there's probably a lot more. But
it's like a rando did not go digging super deep either, and it's just like, all this is really bad. Like, you should never trust a consumer device naked on the internet. This is insane.
Yeah.
I can't wait for ISP-Mandated Routers.
I actually think that's where it's going. Because they're the ones, if you look at their lobbying spend, which we did in that video also a little bit, like Charter, and they're spending so many millions of dollars. And although you can't precisely pinpoint it, you can look at the lobbyists they hire and what those people do. And like, there is a trend towards things that have to do with like hardware restrictions and and router bans. And just to me, it seems like one of the comments that we saw some people saying was like, well, but ISPs have already been doing rental routers for a long time. It's like, it is so much worse than that.
A forced rental router.
Yeah.
Also, think about TV companies. There was a couple TV companies that got caught with their hand in the cookie jar, sending screenshots of, low resolution screenshots of whatever it is you're looking at, once every 3 seconds.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can block that at the router really easily if you know how to do that. But the ISP-mandated router, it's not going to block that traffic.
Especially because they're all cable companies too.
Yeah.
Like they want that data whether or not it's over cable,
Yeah.
and that this is also why a lot of the TVs are so cheap now.
Yeah.
Because they're subsidized by looking at what you're looking at.
There's a couple of smart TVs you have to sign up in order to activate them.
Yeah.
They will not work as a television until you activate it, which is very dystopian.
And they'll tell you it's for a warranty.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, this stuff is to close the loop on like the ISP mandated router thing. I think it's more than just get people to pay monthly for it. It's not just subscribe to your router, which was how we kind of got people interested in the topic, but it's also just like the level of control.
Yeah.
I guess you remember, I'm sure, that in the earlier days, ISPs would want to know how many devices you had connecting to the internet in your home, to the extent that if you had like a switch, it would obviously hide everything behind it.
Yeah.
And like there were still times that they wanted
Yeah.
that information to charge you per device.
Yeah, I think that the only, like the most contrarian audience member, the only thing that they might say is, well, you're asking for software lifecycle, but the way that you get to a software lifecycle is you pay for that monthly so that a team is subsidized to do the thing. To that I would say, okay, are you subscribed to the Linux kernel? Linux is completely taken over the universe literally everywhere.
Yeah.
If you depend on
It's
that
like
kind
over
of infrastructure.
90% server market share, right?
Yeah, just co-opt and leverage Linux.
Yeah.
TP-Link and Netgear both are already doing that, and they're doing it badly. They are not following industry best practices. Just lean into the fact that it's a Linux open source ecosystem, and if you're not going to do it, the community will.
Right.
If you make good hardware that doesn't suck, then that's your competitive advantage, and
Yeah.
it's fine. Like that
Should be.
Yeah.
That should be how it works. Yeah.
But it's like, oh, it's our competitors will steal our special sauce software. I got news for you, TP-Link and Netgear. Your special sauce software is terrible. It sucks.
Make the hardware, and might be better off letting the community handle the software.
Yeah, I was really annoyed with the Netgear RS700S because it was like, download the app so we can configure your router, and it's like, what? No,
Yeah.
not going to do that.
Yeah. There's only there's only ulterior motives for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
There's no reason they need that.
Yeah.
So yeah, check out the full video on Level1 Techs, and it sounds like maybe Level1 Linux as well.
But also, if you missed the video that you did on the lobbying aspect of it, that ties in a lot here.
Yeah, and it's scary.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more for us to uncover there too. That one was on GN, so
There's never been a better time to build a router out of an old garbage computer,
it is true.
even in these uncertain economic times.
Yeah. Yes. These economic times, as a phrase, I think is one of the most hated phrases by anyone right now suffering. You hear it a lot, but that'll be it for the discussion on this one. Check out his channel, and yeah, I guess check out the Computex coverage.
Woo!
Thanks for joining.
No, thank you for having me. It's all good.
We'll see you all next time.
Red team, go!